Hi everyone, my name is Janique and today I'll be doing a chapter reading from Lussuria, the Luminara series book 1, written by SJ Molloy, presented by Itsy Bitsy Bookbits. Prologue. I'm so scared. I can't breathe. There is no light, no oxygen. My heart is going to explode. I'm locked in a cold, pitch black stone building. The rain is wildly thrashing off the corrugated iron roof. It's deafening. I hear thunder roaring from afar, and it's loud and petrifying. The dry, humid summer air in the Australian bushland from earlier now smells stale, damp, and of wet bark and compost. I don't hear him at first because of the rolling thunder, but I smell the dirt and the pungent damp moss. He's here. He's tormenting me, and he's going to take me. He's behind me. I can hear his breathing increasing. He grabs my hair, yanking me back towards him. My eyes have not adjusted to the darkness yet, but I feel a sharp knife blade being held at my throat. He frees his hand from my hair, and I hear the zipper on his jeans before they fall to the floor. I feel the soaking wet denim brush against the back of my legs. He kicks them off, and I squeal with disgust, feeling his bare flesh against my own. My knees tremble as I shiver and scream out, but he only slaps my head hard to silence me. I want my mum. I want Cameron. Why are they not helping? Where are they? I hear his boots clank on metal chains as he moves them. I clench my teeth and squeeze my eyes shut. I'm going to be tied up like my mother. I'm going to feel what she does when she's taken, and my body is going to be crushed. I will be ripped apart. Why am I alone? I am going to die alone. I'm so afraid. Tears fall down my face. He licks my cheek with his wet tongue, and I feel sick. It's repulsive. I need to scream, but I'm afraid he'll stab me with the knife or do awful things with the metal chains. I beg him not to hurt me, and I beg him to let me go. I beg. Punch, kick, slap. I close my eyes again. He yells at me and uses the knife to tear the strap on my vest, ripping it off my body. It's sharp, and I feel hot blood trickle and drip from my left shoulder, down my arms, to my wrist, to my fingertips. Drip, drip, drip. He grabs my breast. I can't. I won't. God, please. Help me. Heart racing, chest rising, blood pounding. Startled and panicked from a horrid flashback, Alexis inhaled a long, sharp breath to fill her oxygen-starved lungs. She wasn't even aware she'd been holding her breath while waiting on Cassie, her therapist. The stench of moss, dampness and rotting sandstone bricks had triggered a horrible memory, a memory which tormented her. An icy chill penetrated her from the crown of her head straight to her numb toes, causing her teeth to chatter. She wished the familiar nauseous feeling would settle before her session, and she willed herself to keep threatening tears at bay. Fingers tightening, stomach knotting, throat constricting, sitting alone in the damp waiting room of the old historic building, Alexis worked to calm herself by taking long, deep breaths. She worried her gloved fingers in front of her lips in a nervous dance, the palms of her hands pressing against the scarf snugly covering her mouth. Still needing to thaw out after being subjected to the horrendous freezing cold weather, Alexis decided to keep bundled up until she felt warmer. Several minutes later, footsteps alerted Alexis that someone was approaching. Lifting her gaze, Alexis noticed Heather, the friendly receptionist, returning cozily wrapped up in a thick woolen cardigan and turtleneck sweater. "Miss Robertson, can I get you a hot drink while you wait? I'm sorry, Cassie shouldn't be too much longer," Heather offered. Alexis shook her head with a ghost of a smile as some colour started returning to her face. "No, thank you, Heather. I'm fine. I think I might be early for my appointment anyway. So it's okay. I don't mind waiting." Heather smiled, aware that Alexis was never one to be late. "I'm sorry it's so cold and smells so musty. We've got extra heaters on to try and dry out some of the dampness. We actually have a construction company booked to replace some of the brickwork and to do the renovations. It's a huge job, so we might need to relocate offices after Christmas while the work takes place." This news pleased Alexis because the thought of being subjected to the smell of moss and dampness on her visits turned her stomach into a twisted storm. Coming here to speak with Cassie was supposed to help her cope with her panic and anxiety attacks, not induce them. Cassie Huddersfield finished making some essential calls and then checked her emails to tie things up before the Christmas holidays. She was looking forward to taking 2 weeks off work this year so she could go to the Canary Islands to celebrate the festivities with her family. It had been a tiring and challenging year in the M. Martha private clinic. The thought of staying in Scotland in this god-awful heavy snow was downright depressing. This had been one of the worst winters Scotland had seen in a long time. The roads were horrendous. Traffic was at a standstill, and the schools were closing their doors, sending children home early. The snowstorms and the blizzards had put a strain on many small businesses. Not to mention, the hospitals were struggling to cope with the heavy influx of emergency room patients being admitted. Air flights had all been cancelled over the past 24 hours, and the railways and buses were all out of service. Cassie considered cancelling her last 2 patients of the day to get a head start home from the city centre on this wild white December afternoon. Ever the compassionate therapist, she decided against it and blasted the heating to the highest setting, keeping her thick iron wool cardigan snuggled around her body. Her scarf hung loosely around her neck, providing additional warmth, but she still felt the bitter draught within the large open room of the ancient sandstone building. In the end, she decided to keep her 2 appointments. Although they had been friends before, she had become even closer to her next patient through the course of their therapy sessions. Her second patient of the afternoon, and also a friend of the family, a young man named Luca Caruso. Cassie's sister Susan's worked for Luca, and Cassie's husband, Terence, was an old friend and worked out at the same fitness club as Luca. After initially struggling with his grief, Luca started to show great positive energy, and now his future looked brighter. On the other hand, her first patient, Alexis Robertson, was an insecure, untrusting, and emotionally scarred young girl, stuck in the dark. She would take a lot of patience, compassion, and encouragement. Her life included some extremely traumatic experiences. They suffocated her, and she needed to breathe. Reluctantly, Alexis had spoken with various therapists, support groups, doctors, and psychiatrists who were appointed by her family's care team and medical insurances. But no one had truly made any progress because Alexis simply didn't place any trust in them. Cassie was different. It took her years of visits with Grace and Alexis at their home with Grace's parents and unending empathy, but Alexis finally trusted her. Cassie's notes were lengthy and detailed, and it had taken a full week of continuous reading and assessment before she had agreed with Grace, Alexis's mother, to take Alexis on as a patient. But she felt she was starting to make some slight progress with her, and that she was close to getting her to open up, more than she had ever done previously. The therapist had a special soft spot for Alexis, as she was always grateful and extremely polite, and through the closed persona she had a warm heart. Alexis showed strong signs of empathy, even if it lacked during her entire childhood. Even after Cassie's many years of experience, she still shivered thinking about Alexis and her family, a family very dear to her heart, and that's why she endeavors to help as much as she can. Alexis, her mother Grace, and her brother Cameron were the very reason Cassie chose to pursue a career as a therapist. Sipping on a cup of Earl Grey tea, Cassie placed her red spectacles on top of her head and watched the clock. 3:05 p.m. She had lost all concept of time and realized she was running slightly late. A buzz on the intercom from Heather, the receptionist, confirmed that Alexis was waiting. "Send her in, please, Heather," Cassie said, relieved that Alexis made it today, despite the horrendous weather. A faint knock at the door prompted her. "Come in, Alexis." The sweet, brown-eyed girl walked in. She was wearing a long, black padded coat with fur around the hood, and her scarf covered her nose and mouth. She wore thick woolen gloves, and her hat was pulled over her long brown locks, hidden underneath the hood. Her knee-high boots were soaked with sludgy wet snow over her tight-fitting denim jeans. "You poor girl! Come and hang your coat, then get warmed up." Alexis removed her scarf, revealing her raw, rosy cheeks chapped from the cold wind. Cassie couldn't help but notice that she was still beautiful, even under the force of the cold weather. So pure, so beautiful. She wished Alexis could see this for herself. After a long hour of asking Alexis to share her emotions about her nightmares, her mother's latest episodes, and how she managed when she went to visit her mother in the private psychiatric hospital, the girl was drained. It was usual for Alexis to appear anxious, but for the first time since coming here, she cried. Progress! Cassie wanted to hug her tightly, but she couldn't, not yet. So instead, she passed her hankies and let her have her moment. Heather buzzed the intercom. Time was up. "Tell Mr. Crusoe to take a seat. I'll be 5 minutes," Cassie replied. She wasn't about to throw Alexis out when she had made such progress today, and she wanted to give her a chance to calm down and compose herself somewhat before leaving. "I'm so sorry, Miss Huddersfield. I don't know what came over me. Please forgive me," Alexis said as she zipped up her winter coat. "Please, I keep asking you to call me Cassie. And don't apologize. I'm delighted with your progress and how brave you've been. It's very refreshing to see you open up a little, and much better that your expression things. Alexis, you can't keep it bottled up. You're showing promise." Alexis nervously bit the inside of her lips and cheeks, listening to the honest advice. "I want you to log some of your thoughts and feelings in a journal the next time you visit your mother. Bring it with you on your next visit. It'll give us a great foundation to build on. I'll be visiting your mother when I'm up north, and we'll have a few sessions with her also." Alexis nodded her head, and Cassie smiled sympathetically. They shared a warm embrace. Cassie stroked her hair and placed a soft kiss to the top of Alexis's head. After putting her gloves on, Alexis held her scarf and hat in her hand as she opened the door. "Cassie, I hope you have a lovely holiday with your family," Alexis said sincerely. "Thank you, Alexis. You're such a sweet girl. Tell your grandmother I appreciate all the fudge and shortbread she sends me, although my hips aren't so appreciative." Cassie giggled, patting her hourglass-shaped form. Alexis smiled, knowing her grandmother would be doing just that, sending down lots of sugary treats as a thank you to Cassie for all her compassion and perseverance over the years. When Alexis turned around, she bumped straight into the burly chest of a tall, dark-haired, handsome man. He was wearing a black wool coat with a scarf wrapped around his mouth and black leather gloves on his hands. He looked down at her as she dropped her head, placing his hands under her chin to lift it. Alexis trembled under the gesture of his touch, and it was not lost on Cassie. She was about to intervene and show Alexis out personally to ensure she was okay, until Mr. Caruso realized for himself how timid and scared Alexis was. "Me despairs tanto. I am terribly sorry. I hope I did not hurt you. Please forgive my clumsiness," the stranger said, in a mix of English and Italian, but with a hint of a local Scottish brogue. He stared at her, his eyes wide and electric as they took her in, feeling agitated that he'd caused her any discomfort. Alexis subtly stole a quick glimpse at him, then dropped her gaze, but not before noticing how very attractive he was, and how good he sounded, and his scent was divine. "It was my mistake. I'm sorry," Alexis whispered. "Keep your chin up. You do not want to fall. It's wild out there," he added. "Thank you," she muttered, and lifted her eyes once more. He was mesmerized by her big, hazel brown eyes, soft peach cheeks, rosy lips, and soft, dark curls that swept her face. Alexis blushed when she noticed he was gazing at her. She tried not to get lost in his crystal azure blue eyes and his dark eyelashes, but she was drowning in them. His eyes revealed the smile hiding under his scarf, a warm, friendly smile. Alexis smiled back modestly while blushing, then looked towards Cassie before scurrying out the door. "Molto bella! Who was that? She is gorgeous!" Mr. Caruso asked Cassie. "Please close the door, Luca, and you know I can't talk about other patients. That information is confidential. Now please pull up a chair and we'll get started."